Association of Financial Advisors of India, in association with Resurgent India Knowledge Series presents a virtual session on Funding Solutions for Startups. Moderator Mr. K. K. Gupta, Director, AFAI. Eminent speakers Ms. Chitra Datar, General Manager, Bank of Maharashtra. Mr. Rahul Narvekar, Founder CEO, India Network. Ms. Sonal Mehta, Senior Vice President, Resurgent India Limited. Mr. Bhavesh Patel, Founder, Opulence Group. Mr. Mihir Kumar Sahu, FCA, Founder Partner, Anil Mihir and Associates.
Sir, you are on mute, please. Please unmute yourself.
गुप्ता सर, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही, आप म्यूट पे हो।
Good evening, friends. I am K.K. Gupta, your host of this program today. Today is a very important topic which we are talking about regarding the funding solution for startup. So we have held so many webinars under the series of Research in India. This is our webinar of 212 webinar in a different subject. As we were talking about the infrastructure, as we're talking about the SME sector, or restructuring, we hold all such a webinar on the request of our members and on the request of the bankers also. This webinar is specially designed in view of the request from our learned eminent speaker here, Mr. Patel, for the Gujarat. Because Gujarat is very advanced stage in respect of a startup. When we are talking about a startup, so startup are typically focused on developing and testing new business fields. We are talking about a startup. Startup is required, whether any registration or something is required for a startup. This is the most important issue. Bill is going to talk whether the DP, IIT is a mandatory for a startup to avail the seed money or any other facility required from the banking sector or from the government of India. The major aspect is source of financing. What are the source of financing for the startup? So we are talking about the bootstrapping, equity finance, crowd financing, angel financing, investor which are doing it. Now important aspect which we are going to talk with the accelerators, venture capitals, which can be used by the startup. In all the webinar, it is used to say that the banking sector, whether you're talking about the working capital or term loan, these are now secondary things. First important thing is the venture capital or angel capital. Now we also introduced to the family business. Family are investing the money, family finance. How they are doing it, this is also important aspect. Investor give a check when the idea they hear is compelling. Idea is sold by the startup. If idea is good, definitely investor will come with a check to give them. When they are persuaded, term of can be realized by the investor. That means now the days are changed. Now a startup should have some ideas to give them to the investor. So that we are going to discuss. We are also talking about the recent availed by the startup. India has emerged as the third largest ecosystem for startup globally with over 112,718 unit recognized by the DPIIT. These are the recognized, registered as on 3rd October 23. Entry of 110 startup to the unicorn club to date and collectively valued at US dollar 347 billion and have raised over US dollar 99 billion in funding. You see that. So India categorizes them as a third position in the world in respect of the startup. So I'm only talking about the registered startups with the Department of Promotion, Industrial and Intertrade. I'm only talking that only. So you just find that INCRID has struck valuation of over $1 billion, becoming the latest unicorn of the country. Raised US dollar 60 billion at the valuation of $1.04 billion. Second unicorn after Gypto of the year. This is second person. So I'm just coming to how the startup is helping the country to economic build up. When we are talking about the 5 trillion economy, so definitely startup can play a very important role as they are coming. A unicorn is coming, 110 unicorn already in place. I will not take much time. I welcome all my participants, all my speakers, eminent speaker here. So I will come. First of all, I am requesting Sri Mahir Kumar Sahu, who is a FCA, founder, partner, honorary and associate. Mr. Sahu is a founder partner, qualified in the year 1987. Thereafter, in the profession of chartered accountant, take over 3 decades, has got vast experience in audit, financial consultancy, infrastructure sector, etc. He was nominated in the committee of MSME and Startup Committee of Institute of Chartered Accountants, New Delhi. I think when he was a member of the MSME committee, he also in Institute of Chartered Accountants. So he is the right person to talk about the startup. Mr. Sahu, just I want to know from you. So how to assess the requirement by the startup? What sources are their startup required to approach them to have a funding? Because funding is the most important aspect. When a person is coming in the market, he develops some product, and it is marketable. Now he requires a finance. So what are the other sources which I already told you, covered funding, angel funding, venture capital, or we are talking about the family, we are talking about the accelerator or incubator, we are talking about the state government or central government providing so many facilities. So please give your views. What are the source of the for startup to raise the funds? Mr. Sahu,
Thank you.
please.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta, for giving me an opportunity to speak to so many aspirants. Well, I may be permitted to tell a few words about the startup and my experience in the journey of, counseling the startups. Well, startup in the arena of India, in the pursuit of India, it is quite new. Whether it is government's initiative or a social responsibility of many organizations, it is quite new. Maybe in our institute also, the committee has been formed only 3 years before. Why it is new and what thought it has come? We are now heading towards 5 trillion economy, and in turn we will be a developed country by 2047. That is the vision of our honorable prime minister. So by serving somebody, we cannot be rich, we cannot produce that much of our economy cannot be that vibrant. So first thing first, it should start from the family. I'll give you an example. At the cost of time, I'll give an example. When 3.5 decades before, at that point of chartered accountants, they used to get whatever job they apply for. So I had 3 jobs in my pocket before in 87 before coming to the profession. And my mother said, till now, she passed away 2 years before. every time she tells why you are working so hard, you're not eating in time, and you should have gone for job, and you look how your friends are there. They are very happily well placed. So the entrepreneurship per se, it is being a deterrent by the family itself. So whenever the family will come to support, then only the entrepreneurship will grow. Because at the back of your family, your wife, your mother, your parents, if they are holding you up, you cannot think of going ahead. Well, coming into the question you specifically you have asked, now that there are very many opportunities uh, mm, uh, coming, particularly, initially these startups, what they need little capital, that is seed fund. And once they have the seed fund requirement, then with that they can approach the bank. But initially, banks are having a big question mark. Madam Chitra madam will agree with me, for very many reasons. First thing is collateral. They will ask, and no startup person, young person will have a collateral facility, and their parents, particularly, I have got many startup clients, their parents have got collateral securities, but they don't encourage that. They discourage their children to go for entrepreneurship, so they don't let their property for the loan. That trouble comes. You know, while going for seed fund, there are opportunities definitely. If your project is very strong, there are seed funds available, angel funds are available, and there are many funds which have been constituted by HNIs, and they try to fund for the various startups. They make seminars, they invite startups, and they evaluate projects, and in turn they invest in that. So those are very recent additions, and those are coming up as an financing pattern. But first and foremost thing, as I hinted in my opening remark, the family should support. The seed capital should come from the family. If your family is not backing you, then how the bank will back you? That's the question. And of course, government, like central government also is giving in incubation centers, they are giving some grant and loan up to 50 lakhs they're giving. And in Odisha government, there is a Hub, Odisha Hub. They're encouraging startups. They give 15 lakhs for a startup. They register, they interview them, they screen the project, and then they give 15 lakhs grant. And of course, bankers are there, up to 3 crores CGTSME loan also they are extending. Well, and from friends and relatives, these are the sources, and there are very many options are there. But the thing is, those options are not available to all, because the startups are not able to equip themselves to avail that loan or equity or whatever facility.
Thank you, Mr. Sahu. I think you have mentioned about the family support. Family support is
Yeah.
the most important aspect. I think for a startup, from their own fund, from the relative, or from the family friend, I think this is the main capital they should come out. Lekin government has come out very important aspect of the seed money. About 20
Yes.
lakh rupees, they are giving a subsidy, and 50 lakhs are being provided from the unificator, and that too as a debt. Lekin that will also convert it into a equity sometime after 10 or 15 years. That means this is also 70 lakhs rupees is being granted as a free. What you're talking about the collateral security, other also something, because up to 2 crore rupees, I think there is no collateral requirement from the banking sector. So I think these are the major aspects which you are told. Lekin what are the challenges, Mr. Sahu? You're told what the source of financing is there. Okay. So what should our challenges? Because the startup, it is said that 90% startup is not coming properly, even for 3 or 4 or 5 years. It's not coming proper, not functioning. Only 10% is there. Lekin whatever 10% are there, you just see the unicorn. And India is the highest unicorn in the country, in the world. And how much restriction is with us? We are the third position in the world for the startup. So what support actually is required from the government, and what are the challenges being faced by the startup? Because you are the helm of affair of that company, SME sector, and startup also, that committee by the Chartered Accountants Association, Chartered Accountants. Have a view on that, Mr. Sahu?
So most of the I'll tell you of the statistics. Most of the startups are being done in IT sector. They are being started by engineers. Engineers per se, if they are equipped with MBA finance or MBA curriculum, MBA course, so if they've done MBA course, then they understand a little bit of business. Most of them I have seen, they have got a great vision. They are technically very sound, but they don't know how to take the journey of business ahead. They see, they cannot make themselves equipped. They cannot make a proper financial planning. So that, once they are developing this, they dry up all their funds in developing the product rather than marketing it simultaneously. So they don't plan it properly. So at the penultimate time, when they are about to market or about to finish the their product, they are dried up with the funds and all their financials are messed up. So at that point of time, even the banks they cannot uh, come to the rescue, and they have taken some angel funds. They are also in a jittery because their money is not showing result. So that's why it's a mismanagement of financial mismanagement which leads them to a problem. And moreover, they are also lacking in marketing. They are so very engrossed with the technical things. They are lacking with the marketing. In my opinion, all the 5 M's of the business should run simultaneously. There should be a proper planning so that they will not fail. And sir, you have told 10% is a very good figure. I think it is 2%. The success in Odisha is only
I'm talking
2%.
about the failure. Failure 10% ultimately after 5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 years. Yeah,
I'm not
that's
talking
true.
about immediately. 10%,
That's true, sir.
I think it is a good figure, what you're talking about. I agree with you.
Exactly, sir.
Huh.
And
So
and moreover,
yes, sir.
sir.
Please.
And moreover, they have very little importance. Knowledge is one thing. If they don't have knowledge in compliances, I think that was another question it was given to me. My practical experience dealing with, startups is they do not know about the compliances. That's fine. They're not supposed to know also, but they don't bother about it. They say, "Ye hote rahega." Once we do our business, once we launch our product, yeah, these things will nothing. We will comply everything. I said, whatever fine it comes, we'll do. No TDS. They're not making any TDS. They're making payments. They don't have respect for all these laws. It becomes, they should understand the cost of compliance becomes too much at the end of it if they mess it up. So these are the requirements.
Sir.
Through these webinars and all, they should be taught with the importance and all importance of compliances.
Thank you, Mr. Sahu. I think you have touched very rightly. We are talking about when I am also a banker. When I entered into bank, we told you that the 4C should be there, character, capacity also should be there. Now we are talking about the 4P. And we are talking about 4P, the passion. So all the entrepreneurs should have a passion to do. Then
sir,
persistence. He should be.
I fully agree with you. All the startups are having a passion, definitely. There's no denial. Passion is there. But if only passion is there,
sir,
then that's a problem.
Sir, that is
without passion, nothing can be done. That's the minimum requirement.
That the passion, then persistence. Persistence should also be there. Otherwise, he should not go away. That people focus. He should focus on our clients. Marketing he should focus. So these are the things which we a startup should do. Thank you, Mr. Thau. I will come back to you. Now I'm going to our great person, I think, who is the architect of this program, Shri Patel, sir. He's a Bhavesh Patel, is the founder of Opidal Groups, and he's a finance expert with more than 2 decades, almost 20 years of experience in India and abroad. He loved traveling throughout the world for both work and pleasure. He is honorary member of the board of advisors of reputed companies, full life closure in venture capital and private equity, speaker at conference, collaboration, affordable university, vast experience in top financial institutions, assets management, co-founder at a reputed Kotak Investment Bank. So many things. If I go on reading, I require 1 hour. His biodata. Sir, major aspect, what we're talking about, sir, new concept. We are talking about invocator. How invocator help in non-metro? I'm not talking about the metro because metro may people are knowing the invocators. So how they are helping in non-metro areas and how the accelerators also helping these people. So I hand over to Mr. Patil. I think he's thorough in that subject. Please, Patil sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gupta. So, coming straight away to the question, what is requirement and why there is a mentorship or incubation, accelerators or venture builders programs are required, and how the approach towards the non-metro should be, because in the metro cities like Bangalore, there is a complete well-built ecosystem. It's like a mini Silicon Valley, where when we talk about Europe or the London, in the central London, you have, you meet everybody there. If you go to the valley, you meet everybody and they say, hey, you are my friend, this is your problem, go and meet so and so. In our state Gujarat, I generally share this experience of this small town called Morbi. Okay, Morbi is one of the biggest.
Very famous place. Very famous place for tiles.
Yes, so it is a very, it is like now emerging as one of the top number one. It will become soon, but right now it is number 2 in ceramics after China. But now China is also, taking a note of the Morbi. So it is just a 20-year-old story about Morbi, and I have seen it because I'm coming from the community, and the only so there are about 2,000 factories making the same product, similar product called ceramics, and all community, I mean all the promoters and founders of the Morbi is the same community. Now how they work and why this kind of an example I'm taking is that in less than 6 months time, a person who is like a 10th standard fail or a 12th standard fail, he and his friends assembled at a panwala shop, and they decide that let's put up a 200 crores manufacturing plant. Somebody says that here is my land, which is a non-agriculture land. Okay, somebody says, okay, I have a connection, I'll make sure that it will get converted into a industrial usage. And then somebody says that, okay, my friend adjoining my factory, he has imported the machinery from Spain and Italy, so here is the connect. And this friend, I have a connection in the Bank of Maharashtra with the madam, and she will definitely help you for the loan. And first export invoice, they release in less than 6 months time. And this I am talking about the scale, which is the investment, direct investment of anything up to 500 crores kind of an investment. First invoice is released in less than 6 months time, and this I have seen where it is a mini ecosystem where everybody knows everybody and helping each other. That is the essence. Basically, it is not a competitive sense of it is basically collaborative sense basically. So taking this example, today Morbi is almost crossing 75,000 crores as a GDP contribution, turnover contribution, and same, they are in the SMEs and MSME space, but the turnover of Morbi is larger than the Amul as a whole, and so this is one example. Now same thing, let's say Gujarat has more number of startups, definitely, but right now the collaborative approach is required, and the handholding is required, mentorship is required. Now how this can be done, there are various incubators, but these incubators are generally they are making it in the universities, and there the due respect to the professors, but the practical exposure to the industry is real different environment. And the structuring part, the regulation part, the taxation part, the go-to-market part, the technology readiness level, somebody has to challenge that startup, that why I should allow you to sit in front of me, as an entrepreneur. So, it's a tough journey. So, rather than, somebody has spent 20 years and learn hard way, this is a shortcut where he can or she can learn in, let's say, 9 months. You cannot produce a baby also. So how you are talking about a unicorn journey, $1 billion journey? Everybody has a dream to become unicorn, but what are the basic ingredients? What are the basic constituents? What are the basic structures? What are the challenges? Most of the founders are at early stage until they approach the experts like you. They are not aware of the regulations, policies, and they are fishing around in the private market, where sometimes government market is much bigger, but they say we don't know whom to approach and how to approach. So all these small things are also there. So there is a methodical program which is, we run it, we call it as a venture building program, which is the, third step, like, incubation, accelerator, and then end-to-end venture building, launching them in the market, and, helping them to ensure that first institutional investor come on board. So there it is, basically there are, we call it a, there are readiness levels, and there is a 1 to 10 scale. So, first I always say that mindset readiness level, MRL. So, we check it that, okay, everybody wants to be the Musk and the Bezos of the world, or okay, but what is the mindset? So there is a methodical survey questions, interviewing process, and there is a kind of templates, and we said that, okay, I mean, as per our assessment, your mindset readiness level to become a industrialist or startup entrepreneur is this. You need to work on these areas basically, and it is again, it's a big subject when it comes to the, industrialist versus traders versus the startup entrepreneurs, what it takes. So one is a mindset readiness level, and then we have a program to help him to match with the benchmarks mindset readiness level. Second is the technology readiness level, TRL. Okay, so technology, again, we do the audit, we do the benchmarking, and we say that, what is the different or USP which you are bringing on table, which is not available in Silicon Valley or in Japan or in any other developed countries, which you are bringing, and where is your technology right now in terms of 1 to 10 scale. Okay, so that again, we tell them that you need another 9 months of incubation for this technology to reach to this, and we will support. Again, it is not just identifying the gap areas, it is giving the solution actually, that okay, if you approach this way, this kind of integration, this kind of API aggregations, this kind of a tech experts, subject matter domain experts we will bring in, and we will make sure that this tech will be ready in so and so time frame up to the standard of, say, 10 scale. So this is a second point. Third is, we call it a market readiness level. Okay, so again, your product market fit, and then if you have tested the product in the market, then how are you approaching this thing in terms of infusing? I mean, one is a pull effect, and second is the push effect. Most of these startups are trying to do the combination, but how to actually approach the market in terms of sales, distribution, marketing, online versus offline, and hybrid approach, all those things. So MRL, market readiness approach, is also another thing. So all these areas, when we bring it up, and then finally we say that, okay, co-founder, where is your co-founder? Because I'm not ready to take 1% risk. Okay, so where is your management, board of directors, retired bankers, retired bureaucrats, retired lawyers, or professional academicians? Most of the startups fail to understand there is a need for mentorship. There is a need for advisory board. I'm not telling that everybody will come on board of directors, but you can have institutional committees. You can have 10 different types of committees and involve them. There are so many retired people. They have 40 years plus 30, 50 years plus of experience. And they want to share their experience without any cost. Okay, or nominal cost basically. But you can't replace the 40 years of experience. There is no other alternative. You have to bring them. They feel that technology is the only solution, which I differ. Startup is not only about technology. Startup is about the collaborative work, and where the young generation is shaking hands with the elder generations, then it is a right combination of experience and passion basically. So so it is all combination which we tell them that in terms of basic things, where all this mentorship can help you, or where all the incubation accelerators and the venture building launching of your startups can help you in resources wise. In the non metros, it is most of the time difficulty of getting the right people. So there, this kind of incubators or these venture building programs are very, very useful, because a kid who has developed something in tier 4 city, he doesn't have an access of IIM Ahmedabad deans or the professors, or the IISc professors, or maybe the corporate labs of, let's say, Tata. So all when we have those tie-ups with the large MNCs, large corporates, government tie-ups, it is coming as a complete package to that tier 3, tier 4 startups. And that is why it is very, very important that because of the connectivity, or because of the small town, this kind of a system, even virtually, it can work very well. Most of the time, they don't generally have even the right CFO, right CTO. So this incubator or this venture building program, we can give them virtual CXO kind of a platforms also, so that they cannot breach on any kind of compliance, or any kind of mishandling of structuring, or any such basic fundamental things which is required. So I think this is a very valid point, that entrepreneurship is booming right now. Everybody wants to take a ride on this emerging startup journey, and there is a definitive role to be played by the incubators, accelerators, and the venture builders like us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. Like, and I think what you are mentioning, it is very important aspect of what you are doing it in Gujarat. Technology, what you're talking about, the mentor institutions for retired person, what you talk. Lekin sir, this is family office. Everybody expected that about 30 billion US dollar fund will be available from the family office. And for a sustainable growth and nurturing ventures, this family office is also play a very important role. How you can collaborate this family offices, because Gujarat is a rich state where so many, just like Reliance or some Adani or some other peoples are available there. And there are also some funds they have created. They must be investing their NSLV units only. Have any view on that, Mr. Patel, for that? How it can be helpful to them?
So, nowadays, there is a trend, which is, we call it, most of the time it starts with the family trust. Family trust, where there is no succession in the family. Most of the time they say that, okay, let me form the family trust. The family trust, then we also recommend that why don't you, because if the one family or a second generation, third generation, they generally feel that it is enough of doing the same product, similar businesses. Let me diversify, but let me not give this indication to the market that I'm investing in the other businesses also. So then we recommend that let's create a family office and let us manage your funds, basically.
Oh, very nice.
Okay,
very
so there are single family offices, there are multi-family offices.
nice. Oh, you are
Okay.
doing that, sir. You're doing.
We are doing.
Oh, excellent.
So when we manage the single family office, there is a different approach, and when there is a multi-family office, there's a different approach. So the single family office, which means that you have to take care of various aspects of the family, their fundamentals, their principles, their ideologies, and then taking care of their next generation's interest, basically. And it works like a semi-fund kind of an or a semi-institutional approach, where it's a almost regulated approach, although family offices in India are non-regulated right now.
So, sir.
But most of the large family offices which we are managing, they are by constitution or by self-regulation, almost managing just like a venture fund or a private equity fund. So you have quick decision. Benefit is that because he is the promoter, he says that, and there is that is his fund. We are saying that we have done a due diligence, audit is there, and here is our investability report. Okay, and then there are quick decisions. So what startup need is the quick decision.
Right.
Most of the time in the venture fund journey, because that money belongs to somebody else, the fund manager is not the actual owner. Okay, and in the VC, generally what happens is that there is easy access to the professional, but you don't have an easy access to the family owner. So what happens is that where there is a easy money, you don't have a easy access. Where there is a easy access, you don't have a easy money coming in from the venture funds. So people say that, okay, I have heard about Sequoia Capital, I have heard about Tiger Global, I have heard about the any large VC funds, Excel Ventures or whatever, but they are not approaching me, or neither I am able to enter in their ecosystem, although I'm able to send them emails, able to interact, but there is nothing is happening. Whereas the decision making process is relatively simpler, faster, and they appreciate the startup because they themselves have built this empire. One in their previous journey, they were also the small startup in a way. From startup they become MSME, from MSME they become the mid size and large size, and right now they have divested and become a rich family office, basically. So there is a connection. They understand the body language and the mindset of the young person, and they would like to support. There's a huge capital available, not necessary from the big name which you are talking about, but also nowadays even 100 crore plus, 50 crore plus people, they have started investing very, very aggressively, almost as equivalent as venture fund and PE funds kind of investments. So incidentally what happens is that Gujarat being right now more aggressive in the manufacturing economy, so there is always a profitability is there. Okay, whereas as compared to the services states, so there is a generations of profits have been accumulated. Then you have, because of the manufacturing boom, you have a real estate is also doing well, and then there is a surplus and capital gains are there. So now they have started realizing that let me structure the family office in Singapore, in Gift City, or in India. But it is a high time. I don't want to miss the bus of Zomato, which I have missed, or I don't want to miss the bus of the at least valuation, at least in terms of the money what the early stage investors have made it. So everybody has realized that, and they are looking for the right startup founders. And if there is a right product and right person, okay, rest of the, so benefit with the family office is that they are also kind of a strategic partner. They can guide you, because most of the time family office says that, okay, I have affinity to this business because in past I have run this business, so please do not do this mistake, whereas most of the time VCs or the institutional financial investor, they talk about the ROI, they talk about the board meetings, okay, so-called value addition, but actual value addition comes from the strategic partners and sometimes the family offices. So startups appreciate that I need this kind of a hand-holding from the family offices as well. Yes.
Excellent, sir. Excellent. Excellent. I think we got so many information from you. I think in further some webinar that will also prove to be very useful, and your association with Research in India, I think will be proved to be very useful for our startup.
Sure.
Thank you very much, sir. I will come back to you. I'm coming to Madam Chitra Datta, who is General Manager, Bank of Maharashtra. She is a government business, managing the assets and liability of both the government department, PSUs, corporations, easy agenda related to verticals, to the headquarter at Delhi. And she is a very dynamic lady and dynamic administrator from the Bank of Maharashtra. And under her leadership, the Bank of Maharashtra has grown like anything. I think now it is categorized as the leading bank in the banking sector. Madam, just I want to know from you, this from the assets-based lending, now it is a cash flow lending. So how a startup can take the benefit of this cash flow lending, and what difficulty they are facing to avail the credit? At one Mr. Sahu was telling, even the credit guarantee scheme without collateral security, the bank is difficult to take loan from the banking sector. I hand over to Madam. Please give your thoughts. Unmute kar lijiye, madam.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gupta, for the introduction. Mr. Sahu and Mr. Patel, they have already given a good insights on family offices and also incubators and accelerators, and that is really a new concept, and this is very in this thing, for funding for the startups, what we have today's topic also. For funding, it is really useful, that concept. As far as coming to the banks, if you see, yes, it is a national priority funding to the startup, and also Bank of Maharashtra in sync with the national priorities of financing the startups. This objective, actually, if you see, it is to stimulate a culture of innovation and foster an entrepreneur ecosystem. More so, to target young generation to the banking fold. But as actually Mr. Patel also was mentioning that the banks, they always insist on collaterals or asset-based funding. We are talking about. If you really see all these startups, if you see, they are having the technological prowess, but on financial, they are low on financial withdrawal. And that is always a problem for the banker, because early stage financing, if you see, banks will always see the commercial viability or the technical viability and sustainability and also the profitability of the project. Any banker, if you see, they will always go for this first. If you see Bank of Maharashtra, we don't generally, you see banks, they do not go for equity funding or venture capital funding, which is a risky capital, because banks, they will not take that risk. They will always see whether this is a doable, whether there is a profit generation, and whether it is a dual. So anyway, despite early mortality of many startups also, the commercial banker will not shy away from taking a lending decision. They will always give a lending decision with a proven cash flow model. See, earlier we were seeing, the financials, balance sheet, all such things we are seeing. Here, there is no proven track record. We have to go for cash flow model only. And now if you see for the banks also, we are doing various types of lendings, because the financing requirements of the startups, if you see, banks are extending project finance after the startups had moved beyond the proof of concept. And state funding from the government also they are getting, like central government, state government, or from venture capital and private equity funds also. And we were talking about, like, they should get the support from their families, or maybe from friends and relatives, all such things. We are also talking about safe notes. There are so many things for them to fund for such type of funding. And basically venture capital, if you see that support, it was always from China and US earlier. In India, it is on a very low scale. If we now also, if you see, yes, for the growth of economy, to have our dream of 5 trillion economy, we always have those startups when they have that innovation. They have that innovation, but they have to choose the partner at the beginning of the enterprise. And the enterprise needs to convince that entrepreneur, if you see, they need to convince the commercial banker about the commercial viability of the unit. That is very essential. Always you see, for Bank of Maharashtra, if you see, we have already started one, especially, for the startup financing. We have opened a dedicated startup branch in Pune. And looking at the conducive startup environment in Gujarat, our bank may explore opening similar branches in state also, that Gujarat state. But as of now, if you see, we have our dedicated MSME branches which are catering to the startup funding on a case-to-case basis. If you see, we have that a Startup India scheme also, where my all branches, they are taking that decision wherever that financing is required for the startups. It is always under that Startup India scheme that decision will be taken. And they will go, whether that any model, like any new venture, whether it is sustainable or not, they will go for that, because bankers, they are always risk averse, they will not go for that. So financing requirements, now we are going for cash flow based. Earlier it was all asset based, as you rightly said. We are going for now cash flow based, where we'll see the future cash flows also, and how, whether are they going to have the enough cash flows to sustain their business. And then banks also, they will go for such type of funding also. And we are doing this. It is advisable to choose a financial advisor at the beginning, and they need to convince also the banker about the commercial viability of the unit. That is very, very essential. This is the first thing that bankers, they will always see while funding the startups. And under this thing also, see, up to 10 crore, they have the guarantee fund scheme also, for the startup. So under that also, banks are financing these new startups. It is not that the bankers are not financing. They are financing. Only, they will see, where it is sustainability, that part they will see, and they will. So in the coming days also, if you see, bankers, they will always finance all those startups.
Thank you, madam, very much, because you just informed that at Pune, you opened a specialized branch
Yes.
of the startup. I think this is the right step taken by the Bank of Maharashtra, because I am associated with Bank of Maharashtra in so many webinars. Also, we hold about webinar in Pune also, where the SME sector are also invited. I think the Bank of Maharashtra is doing very well. But you also mentioned about the cash flow lending. You have started cash flow lending because assets-based lending was somewhat difficult for a startup.
Yes, that is
your
true.
bank has started for the cash flow lending. It will be proved to be very useful for our startup.
Yes.
Thank you, madam. I appreciate the work done by the Bank of Maharashtra in respect of the SME sector or the startup sector. So I will come back to you, madam, again. So I'm
Yes.
requesting Mrs. Sonal Mehta, who is Senior President, Research in India Limited. So, madam, so you have seen that our family offices, we discussed the family offices, how it is useful, how they expected about the 2005, 25, 30 billion. So which sector are these family offices are helping them to increase their business? Have any view on that sector, madam, where the family offices help them? I hand over to Mr. Madam, Sunil Mehta. Sonal Mehta.
Thank you so much, Gupta sir, for giving me an opportunity to represent on this platform. So, like, we were discussing about family offices, and like Bhaveshi was rightly mentioning, that there are a lot of Indian billionaires and ultra net worth HNIs who want to diversify into various other sectors, but they don't want to do it in the public portfolio, saying, कि we're diversifying. So they venture into with the other startup founders where they get into it and put in their equity to give them support in that sector. So that's where the family offices are coming in from, where the bigger guys have been investing into various startups where they think probably there are growth opportunities. And from the sector wise, if we're talking about, there is increased interest in the tech space. So when you're talking about digital space, when you're talking about from the e-commerce space or from the fintech, there has been a lot of interest which is coming in from the family office space. And currently also, I've been seeing some traction even on the EV side. So there are a lot of funding in the family office in the HNI space, which is happening on the EV side as well. And like you rightly mentioned in the past, and by 2025, I would say the amount of investments that we are expecting from the family office is close to 30 billion. So that's a huge amount that we're talking about. Lekin, my primary question here is, why does somebody want to go in for a funding? So it can be bootstrapped also, it can be funding also, because, primarily the reason here is that, anytime you have to go for a funding, you have to pick and choose an investor. So ऐसा नहीं है कि anybody who has money is the right investor for you. Because there are very good examples in the Indian market itself, where investor has turned a startup into unicorn. And, similarly, there are also very good examples where, the investors have taken a company to that stage that they had to shut down. I don't want to name any companies right now, but there are examples कि investors ने company बनाई भी है और डुबोई भी है. So it's very important to pick and choose the right set of investors that you are getting on right now, because generally the seed capital or the family investors are those guys who are your first investors. आपकी family investment के बाद generally relatives, friend की investment जब हो जाती है, तो पहली investment जो होती है वो generally angel investors और family investors ही करते हैं आपके business के अंदर. So when you are choosing an investor, you have to understand what is the kind of portfolio that they work on, the sectors that they work on, the kind of investments that they have made in the past, the size of investments that they have made in the past, how are those companies been performing wherever they have invested in the past. दूसरा, जब हम अपना business plan भी बनाते हैं, because anytime you are going to an investor, you are still at an initial growth stage. या तो आप आइडिया स्टेज पे होते हो या फिर आप उस स्टेज पे होते हो कि probably you've been running a company for 1.5 years and you're looking at some investor to come in at a seed level or at a family office level. So when you're projecting to them, you have to ensure that you're projecting a good picture to them. Matlab, your projections have to be clear, your business plan has to be clear, and you have to show a profitable business to them, and those projections which can be achieved. So that's another critical point when you're going to a family office from the investment perspective. And then the last thing that a generally family office investor looks at is flexibility from the promoter side. जो भी कोई promoter होता है ना, वो generally जब business शुरू करता है तो he starts with the idea. And slowly what happens is he gets so involved with the idea, also gets so fascinated with the idea that he doesn't want to change it. अब फाउंडर को थोड़ा सा फ्लेक्सिबल होना बहुत जरूरी है मार्केट के हिसाब से. ठीक है, आपने एक एक्स प्रोडक्ट आज शुरू किया, आपको लगा वो एक्स प्रोडक्ट बहुत अच्छा चलेगा, सब कुछ होगा, आपने उसके ऊपर 6 महीना काम कर लिया, 12 महीने काम कर लिया, आपको लग रहा है उसके ऊपर रिजल्ट नहीं निकल के आ रहा है, तो यू हैव टू बी फ्लेक्सिबल इनफ टू पिवट, मतलब स्ट्रेटेजाइज करके उसमें हम क्या चेंजेस कर सकते हैं. Because ultimately, when you are starting as a investment or you're starting as a company, you have to ensure that company is successful, even if you have to be pivoting your idea or a project, but the company has to be successful. I think that's very critical. सो कोई भी फैमिली ऑफिस जब आता है तो हमेशा ये देखता है कि प्रमोटर कितना फ्लेक्सिबल है मार्केट के हिसाब से पिवट करने के लिए. So, generally, when I talk to any of the mentors, people I've been mentoring, I also mentor a couple of kids in IIT Guwahati and have been working with couple of government schools also with their students as a mentor. तो मैं जनरली उनको सिर्फ ये बोलती हूँ कि किसी भी फाउंडर के लिए ये चीजें बहुत जरूरी है. होश, जोश एंड जिद. होश,
Very nice.
जब आप concept, अपना बना रहे हो तो आपको होश होना चाहिए कि आपका आइडिया क्या है, आप क्या मार्केट टैप कर रहे हो, उस मार्केट की डिमांड क्या है, आप टीम क्या बिल्ड कर रहे हो, लीगल कंप्लायंस, एवरीथिंग हैज टू बी परफेक्ट. जोश, जब आपने सब कुछ सेटअप कर लिया, जोश फ्रॉम द ऑपरेशंस पर्सपेक्टिव, आप कंपनी कैसे चलाने वाले हो, ऑपरेशनल साइड, व्हाट आर योर एक्सपेंशन प्लान्स, व्हाट आर योर फाइनेंशियल व्हिच यू बी नीड टू बी टेकिंग केयर, एंड जिद कि जब आप एक बार चालू हो गए हो तो यू हैव टू इंश्योर कि अब तो कंपनी चला के ही रहनी है, चाहे उसको पिवट करना है, कुछ भी करना है, बट देयर इज नो लुकिंग बैक. So I think these are very critical things which a founder requires.
Very nice, right? Madam, just like private equity, or we're talking about the venture capital, this family office,
Right, sir?
I think will play a very important role because they can guide you personally also. Because they are the
Absolutely.
entrepreneur, basically, as Mr. Patel told, they come from at a lower stage where the SME sector was there, mid corporate was there. Now they are investor because they have surplus money. They're coming into the field. I think this will be going to be a very important field after this venture capital or after this private equity. I think it can be explored. As Mr. Patel also told that he's doing all such a business. It can be have any view on that respect of whether it can be preferred from the private equity or something venture capital?
Absolutely, sir, because what happens is family office pays when the family office works with the promoter, they work with them more as a mentor. So that's very, very critical from a founder's perspective. Reason behind, there he's been being mentored by the leaders who have worked in the industry for some time. जब हम प्राइवेट इक्विटी और वीसी स्पेस की बात करते हैं तो जनरली दोज गाइज आर फाइनेंशियल इन्वेस्टर्स. They may or may not understand your sector or may not understand the business part of it. But when you're talking about
if the family offices can help for a startup, I think growth will be much higher because they
absolutely
know the business. Thank you, madam. I will come back to you. I'm coming to Rahul Narvekar. He is a founder, CEO, India Network. India Network is an early startup in incubations and mentor and funding network. So I've seen him. So what he's telling, the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dream. I think this is the most important quotation which he is feeling, that future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. So, sir, Narvekar sir, what is your dream for the innovators? What is your dream? How our startup can achieve the object? I think this is most our dream is there. Now, so many people listening to you, how their dream can be achieved. You are given very good quotation for that. So tell us how our entrepreneur can achieve their dreams.
Sir, I used to wear Nike shoes and they have a tagline called "Just Do It." So
Yes,
if
sir.
if you have a dream, just do it.
Yes, sir. Dream is there, you can do it. Very good.
So my last job, sir, was with a company called DLF. Till then, I'm a Bombay boy.
Yes, sir.
I married a Delhi girl and she caught me into moving to Delhi 23 years back.
Okay.
तो अपन तो सीधे साधे महाराष्ट्रियन बच्चे थे बॉम्बे के, running a music channel which was a startup in 1998.
दिल्ली में फंस गया.
Sir, met a Delhi girl online and she said, 1 year we'll live in Delhi and next year we'll move back.
Okay.
So I was the idiot Bombay guy who believed a Delhi girl, that to a South Delhi girl. And every year I would ask her, see, Pallavi Rao, you said we will move back to Bombay next year. She said, yes, next year. So the lesson to be learned from this is two things, sir. Number one,
Sure.
don't trust things on the internet that you get on the internet. I got my wife there. Lesson number two is all Delhiites are thugs, with all due respect. But when I came here, I lost my job on the day of my wedding in 2001. I didn't understand Delhi because I'm from Bombay. When I came here, everything was done hai ji. And I thought done hai ji means done. It's only after I met the gentleman 55 times that I realized that in NCR and whole of North India, done hai ji means everything except done.
Yes, sir.
But honestly, the best thing that could have happened to me has always been that I'm Ganpati's favorite child. So whenever things have not gone as per plan, things have been really awesome for me. So when I lost my job on the day of my wedding, I was working for an ad agency in Delhi. So sheer desperation took the second job that I got, which was real estate, Ansal's. So Ansal Plaza is where I joined as a senior manager on a 25,000 rupee salary. I thought I was living in Safdarjung Enclave. I thought they're going to send me to this cool mall called Ansal Plaza. They did what happens in Delhi. They showed me Ansal Plaza and gave me a place called District Center Janakpuri. So for anybody in the audience who's been to District Center Janakpuri, the amphitheater that you see there, I built it with my own hands. So that was the job I started with. As luck would have it, last job was with a company called DLF, 2007 to 2009. I was heading something called Mall of India. Now that you see downtown was supposed to be India's largest mall. Never happened because of 2008 recession. And what we are hearing today, it was the same sentiment that time. Everything is doom and gloom. Kuch nahi hone wala hai, no funding, no jobs. But for me, the awesome thing was I got so bored with my job. I quit and I started a company called fashionandyou.com. And a lot of my colleagues, a lot of my bosses in DLF and Ansals and all these other real estate companies actually thought that DLF has sacked me. And because I have no job in hand, घर पे बैठ के internet पे कपड़े बेच रहा है. And a lot of seniors sent me messages saying, what nonsense, become a broker. What is this? Who's going to buy clothes on the internet? When you have only built so many good malls, why will anybody go on the internet to buy clothes? And 2010, we became the second startup in India to get $8 million from Sequoia Capital, then $40 million, then $128 million. And even then, a lot of people thought that this is some sort of a scam. Because nobody understood startups, nobody understood e-commerce then. And people thought because most of these funds were registered in Mauritius and people like Sonal did not exist to educate them, they thought we are round tripping some politicians' money back into the country. But if I look at a few data points in the country today, we are about a $3.5 trillion economy today. And I'm a Harvard student, so I'm part of a program called OPM, Owner President Management Program. We are 148 people from 33 countries, Gupta ji. So a lot of my classmates are like the biggest guys in the pension funds, hedge funds in US, Europe, Canada, Middle East. And they are saying three things. Number one, Rahul, don't tell me the India story. I know the India story. Number two, I don't have the capability as a fund to understand who is a good entrepreneur. Is it Rohan or is it Sonal? I don't know. So tell me, who are you backing with your $1? I will top it up. And third thing, don't come to me with one pitch decks every other day. Don't send me a pitch deck. Come to me with a portfolio. You're this 25, this 50, this 100 startups I'm backing. I have put my 25 rupees. Now you top it. So out of all these discussions and the lesson that I learned with my own mistakes that I made in the past, that instead of spending time with every entrepreneur one-on-one, let's build a structured program, which is an accelerator. So, and my mentor in life has been Dr. Ananta Raghuvanshi. She was our super boss in DLF. We used to watch her from a distance, but ma'am has always been very kind and supportive. So when I started on this journey with Startup India, Invest India to launch a series of accelerator programs focused on women-led startups, we start with Naredko Mahi, and we came up with this thing called Dolphin Tank, which we launched at the Naredko convention. And this idea was given by Dr. Ananta. So Ananta ma'am basically said, you know, sharks to kha lete hain ek dusre ko. Sharks are predatory creatures. What these founders need is a friend, an elder brother, or elder sister, who will guide them, who's their friend, and who's also playful. So hence Dolphin Tank. So what we are doing at Dolphin Tank, we have announced the PropTech Accelerator. and we will soon open it up for applications, subject to approval from our boss Sonal Mehta. That whoever is doing any kind of a good work, any startup in the prop tech space, property, real estate, management, anything around this space can apply for the program. We will select about 25 good ones who we think have potential. They will go through a structured 6 months program in which they will get best in class mentors from the prop tech sector as well as the fund, the REITs, and these are global people. So from my friend Melinda Bush, who lives in New York and is on the board of Carlyle, Hyatt, TPG, all these big funds, to another friend who's heading a real estate company in Japan, to of course all the Indian mentors. They will work with these startups for 6 months. We will have 2 immersion trips. One trip is to Bangalore. One is to either New York, Bay Area, or Tokyo, wherever we feel they need to. They will go meet all these startups, meet all these REITs, funds, get that exposure, build a network, come back, and end of it, they will get funding from our network of investors. So that's what we are working on right now. So I've been an entrepreneur, I have been an investor, I'm 51 years old, about to turn 52 this year. So this is my legacy. This is what I'm working on currently.
What are the challenges you have faced during this period to achieve the goal? What set in? What you are having this company? You're doing excellent job. So what are the challenges so that our participant can have something from you?
So the challenge is very simple. Today, as a country, and my superpower is I can speak to both worlds. I can speak to the old economy people, senior people, and I can also speak to the 16, 17, 14-year-old startup entrepreneur, right? So that's why probably I'm also known as the Seema auntie of the startup ecosystem, where मैं जोड़ियां बनाता हूं दोनों side की. You know, the challenge for the old economy is they don't understand this world. So for the longest time, when I did Indian Roots, which was my startup with NDTV, or Fashion in You, when I would go to sit with Lalaji, for lack of a better word, in say Ludhiana, or somebody in Surat, Bhavesh was talking about Morbi, and my great stories. I was recently in Surat, Guptaji, where I was called by the South Gujarat Chamber of Commerce to speak to a room full of 300 old economy business owners. And a few of them, Bhavesh, were from Morbi. And I remember in the Q&A, one gentleman raised his hand and said, and this is a bit of Gujarati and Hindi. He's like, Rahul bhai, you are saying that investors don't pick up calls. In my case, I've invested in several startups. Now, 2 of my startup founders don't take my calls. What should I do? So in my broken Gujarati, I told him, bhuli jao, forget it. He's like, what do you mean forget it? I said, yes, there are 2 scenarios here. One, the startup is doing so well that the founder does not have time to take your call. The other most likely scenario is the startup has gone bust and he's getting stressed because you're calling him. So don't call him. So he said, what should I do now? I said, please call both of them, give them some more capital and say, now do another startup. So this gentleman was very zapped. He said, but he's already flushed down my earlier funds. I said, yes, but now he knows what not to do. So why do you want to stress him out? No, but I gave him money. I said, yeah, but it was not debt, right? Apne takke pe to nahi diya tha. It was equity. He said, makes sense. Later, this gentleman comes to me and I figure out that he's like a very rich old economy guy, but he just doesn't understand this world. You know, startups are about speed and scale. Startups are about failing fast. Startups is about creating something which is not there. Okay. And when you have run a business on a P&L where it's only profitable, part to profitability, also a lot of the old economy guys think that when a startup guy tells them stuff, they want it on an Excel sheet. They exactly tell me how it will happen. But in my both startups that I did, whether it's Fashion in You or Indian Roots or whatever, we have an idea of where this can go. And we build it as we are growing, right? So this education, like what we're doing here, or matchmaking, or connecting the dots, is the key challenge right now. The challenge is that if it's a young kid who's built a great technology for people to own fractional ownership in a piece of real estate in Goa, he does not want to take money from a gentleman in Morbi or Surat or Ludhiana because he feels that he will waste a lot of bandwidth trying to make this uncle understand what he's doing. Okay. And then to the elderly gentleman who's probably the investor in this startup, when he sees stuff happening which he cannot connect to, he gets a little jittery. That mindset is the key challenge, sir. Everything else is figure outable.
Very nice, very nice. Sir, this is one last question from you. You are the CEO of the India network. I think this is the measure of monitoring what you are doing it, or invocations, what you have started, fundraiser. Why you prefer this instead of going for the venture capital, going for the private equity, or some other source? Why you have selected this? Have any just for by curiosity's sake, I just want to know from you why you have come to this, whether this is useful for the startup.
So my friend Sonal said it brilliantly when she said a lot of founders now don't want venture capital. So I was running this company called fashionandyou.com, sir, 2009-10.
Right.
We used to sell luxury online at a discount.
Okay.
Okay. So we were selling DKNY handbags, Prada, Gucci. In cut dead stock, we would pick up and sell it on the site. So just to give you a perspective of how we launched on 15th of January 2010. My sales for 15 days of January 2010 was 7.5 lakhs. February 27 lakhs. March 65 lakhs. April 1.2 crores. So what is called a J curve in the startup world is what we were achieving. So Sequoia Capital came and gave us $8 million. And we were like, oh wow, Sequoia, this is the smartest fund in the world. So whatever they would suggest, we thought this is God's word. And after a while, what happened is we are sitting in a review meeting with our investors. And we had run out of most of the brands, because how many brands will you have? And when Sequoia's come in at X valuation, they wanted to go further, right? So the analyst from Sequoia is talking to us and he's like, get more stuff. I said, there is no more stuff. So this young kid who was an MBA from a B school in US said, you know what? We have heard of this startup called Flipkart in Bangalore, and they are selling mobile phones online. Usme to koi inventory issue nahi hai. And nowadays, mobile phone is also a fashion accessory. So why don't you guys also start selling mobile phones as fashion? Now we thought, because Sequoia guy is saying it, that's the answer to this query. We took him on his word. We hired somebody to source mobile phones for us. Unfortunately, this bright kid went and sourced BlackBerry phones from Eastern Europe. And because we were growing so fast, and again, like what Sonal said, we did not do our due diligence. Okay, how are you able to get a 60% discount on a cell phone category that doesn't have that margin? We launched BlackBerry handsets at 60% off. And I still remember that day, sir. We sold 68 lakh rupees worth of BlackBerries in a single day. It was a record for Fashion and You. We said, wow, let's sell more. Ek image hi to lagani hai. We sold lots and lots of BlackBerries. They got delivered. And then they started dying after 3 months because they were refurbished phones. So when we started taking such decisions, because we thought our investor has told us, that's the gospel truth. So in a nutshell, and again, when we turned to them, they said, boss, I'm an investor. I just gave you an idea. You are the entrepreneur. What I'm trying to tell you is we assume, and if you look at what has happened in the ecosystem in the last 2 years, look at a BYJU'S, look at a BharatPe, and I'm not defending anything the entrepreneur did, but you look at the journey of, say, a Baiju Ravindran. He's a school teacher who used to take classes in stadiums. Suddenly, somebody comes and tells him, let's build a startup called EdTech. He said, okay, they give a bit of capital. He keeps growing very, very fast. And then more smart investors come on the cap table. They start giving him ideas. He thinks, oh, these are the smartest people in the world. Let me implement what they're doing. So they told him, take debt from this company in the US. It's a 0%. Nothing, no challenge. He said, okay. He signed the paper. And that one thing led to an unraveling, because suddenly the 0% interest rate party in the US got over. That company came back and said, okay, either pay me back or I'm going to take over your company. Look at where is, and if you look at it from BYJU'S perspective, that poor guy is crying on camera that I've mortgaged my house to pay my staff salary. But now suddenly, from being the hero who's partying with Messi and Ronaldo or Shah Rukh Khan, I'm now like, the biggest villain in the startup ecosystem. Usko samajh hi nahi aaya mere sath hua kya, ye pura itna fast hua hai. So for a lot of founders, see, what is a founder, sir? He's a young kid from anywhere, an IIT or a Surat or whatever, who's cracked the problem. Okay. What most smart founders have today realized is, I want somebody like me who understands, who gets the pain of building a startup. Okay. Who's not only an Excel sheet guy, that when the time is good, they are my best buddy, they are my family. When the time goes south for no fault of mine, they are going to be pouncing on me and throwing me out of my own company. So a lot of us are saying, I want somebody who gets me. And the fun thing in India, sir, was, when we built 2009-10, any investor coming from US would ask me a simple question. Rahul, you are the what of? I think, what of? Are you the Uber of India? Are you the Amazon of India? Because they were taking a template from the US and saying, India mein replicate karna. It doesn't work, because India is not a monolithic country. We are more like the European Union, right? Every 30 kilometers, everything changes in India. So if you don't get this country, it is not a good match. It's like a marriage, right? So
Right.
that's why I'm saying if we don't prefer venture capital, we will, of course, at some point you need that
Very
money.
nice. I got
But
your
today
idea.
at an early stage,
Got your
there is
idea.
enough capital from India. So I'd rather go and sit with Bhavesh Patel or Mihir or ma'am in Bank of Maharashtra and say, can you fund me? Because you will get me. You get the cultural diversity of this country. You will also help me. So tomorrow, if I have a startup who's funded from, say, Resurgent, I can go to Sonal and say, you know what, Sonal, if DLF becomes my client or gives me one POC, my whole game will change. And Sonal will pick up the phone and get him an appointment in DLF, which otherwise will take me 1 year. So that's the reason we want dolphins,
Thank you,
not
Navekal.
sharks.
Thank you very much. I have some question. Anybody can reply, or I can ask somebody that they should reply. First, in India, can a private limited company give education funds to the students? Anybody can reply for that? Or I will tell something. Can a private limited company give education funds to the students?
In what mode is the question?
The-
What mode it will be? If
Yes.
it is a Section 8 company, if it is
Yes.
a Section 8 company, charitable company, okay, you can fund.
Yes,
You
sir.
can fund as a charity. But if it is on a finance mode, then probably not, because you need to register as a financing
Yes,
company.
it cannot.
It
Another
cannot.
question, do we have any investor who is investing in form of ECB into non-impact company? Have any ECB investor we can invest something like that? Non-impact company? Have any reply from anybody? Yes, sir. Sahu sir, it is your field.
No,
Sir, ECB का समझ नहीं मेरे को. What is ECB?
Do you have any investor who is investing in the form of ECB into the non-impact company?
So what is the ECB, sir? I'm sorry, I'm not that educated.
एक्सटर्नल कमर्शियल बोरोइंग
Commercial,
बाहर की जो इन्वेस्टमेंट्स होती हैं
commercial borrowing.
So there are a lot of impact funds. There are
Yes.
lots of impact funds who
Giving
do
in
invest.
dollar or in pounds or something like that. Banking.
Normally ECBs, they give it to a very, very large,
Very large.
requirements.
Yes, yes.
So if it is matching their size, then obviously why not?
Non-impact company made the ECB is very difficult because it is a large size is there. Why is asking for ECB to be funded by the non-impact company? So now Mr. Rai is there, Sai is there. The number have shared our revenue number already made. Thank you again. What about the number?
I have connected with him. Gupta sir, मैंने connect कर लिया. I have told him to call me back post the session.
क्या है क्या ये? What is this? What is he asking? S.C. Agarwal, can a startup program be launched to eradicate poverty from the village? Who can help in this regard? Any startup can be done by anybody. If in a village is there, if metro is there, urban is there, nobody. Anybody can go and have a startup business. There is no point. Do you have anything to impact investment? Do you have anything to impact investment? कौन पूछ रहा है इसको ये?
Do we have anything for impact investments? कोई impact investments का कोई project होगा तो उसकी funding perspective से या तो पूछ रहा होगा सर.
Impact investment क्या होती है?
Sir, इसमें basically what happens is there are funds which say I'm going to invest, but I don't want a return on my capital. I want an impact on the ground in terms of either alleviating poverty or education or any of these sectors. So impact on the lives of people. So for example, there is a website called Rang De. You can check them out. They do peer-to-peer lending to farmers.
We are talking about the social lending.
Same, sir. Social impact के लिए there are various funds across the world, including
That's
India,
more of
like
social
Avishkar.
lending. Right.
Bill Gates Foundation, like.
Okay. Babu is asking, our company is a startup and MSME engaged in the manufacturing of EduBlue. क्या होता है? Located in Kochi, Kerala. Despite the fact that we are a qualify for a loan of 1.6 crore under the AGS scheme, we have not been able to raise any fund from any of the bank. Can you help us? Contact number है ना? ठीक है, separately you talk to us.
I will take it up.
Director
Me or
Madam.
Patel ji,
Patel sir can take it up. Yeah.
can an individual be startup to eradicate the poverty from the village? Patel sir.
Sorry, I didn't get this
Anybody
question.
can come and start up. What is problem in that? He can do anything. Patel sir, have an answer? They asking you.
Sorry, can you please elaborate? What is the question?
Can an individual be a startup to eradicate poverty from a village?
See, at an idea stage, I think somebody is talking about that. What idea can eradicate the poverty from the village? I think, if I understood correctly, I think they are referring to that sense. So basically, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, UN SDGs. One of the SDG is this, that removal of poverty. Now, removal of poverty through the startup idea, through the technology, there has to be, multi-dimensional approach. It is a very, very wide and generic questions. But yes, one can contribute through whatever the startups idea you are bringing in the village. Which are the ecosystem, which are the sectors which is impacting, agriculture or animal husbandry, or maybe renewable energy, or many different types of sectors are impacting the rural economy. Whatever focus of the particular idea, if that idea is big enough, good enough, and sharp enough, then every politicians in India, ever since independence, they are saying that we want poverty free India. It's a dream of everybody. But yes, one can contribute through the good startup idea and good startup technology, which is impacting the rural economy. Yes,
that can be done.
Can I supplement?
Please. Please.
As Bhaveshji told, this is a state subject. Government has to bother about it. But at the same time, we have a Odisha Corporate Foundation in Odisha, where, like Mr. Bhaveshji told, they are mentoring. We are also mentoring startups in Odisha. One startup came for funding. What they were doing, they used to carry all these home needs, provisions to the villages, and they encouraged village people to develop all handicraft items wherever they are good at, and in exchange they used to give the provisions, and they get the all artisans products, and they sell it in the city area, and from city area they take provisions and give them. So they tried to elevate poverty through this initiative. But this hardly matters. This hardly matters because poverty is so much, and the initiative of this company is very little.
Another question is, Anish, fintech are also kind of a startup who have revolutionized the financial industry and landscape. What recent action of the RBI on the Paytm pose a serious challenge and risk in terms of non-compliance? How tackle this kind of situation?
Basically, be compliant, sir. That's the answer.
You are right. Compliance should be there. If he not complying, there is no answer to that. Nah.
Although I do support VSS as a friend and a founder, but if you're repeatedly been non-compliant from the last 3 years, what will RBI do? They will, of course, shut you down.
I agree with you. Can a trust be treated as a startup? No.
Trust cannot do commercial business, sir. All startups are for commercial business.
Cannot be. Babuji again has come. So, can a bank of Maharashtra help us? My contact number.
In what?
Giving loan, ma'am.
In loan, in startup. Yeah, that is what I said. If they have that, they can, convince the banker about the commercial viability of the project. He can approach any of our bank, any of our branches, and he can submit his project. There is no problem.
There is no problem at all.
See, bank, after all, banker will look after all the possibilities. How the business will sustain, what is the marketing skill that he has, whatever he's producing, whether he's able to sell it or not. All such things he's going to see, banker is going to see.
Very nice. My internet had gone. So please, I only request you in the end. I'm thankful to all the eminent speakers. My voice is there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can
voice is
hear.
there.
Yeah.
The voice is there, so I will just speak. My photo will not be there. So I'm thankful to all my eminent speakers for the time given to us. I think it is a very good webinar we ever have. I mean, new thing we have discussed. So I am really thankful from core of heart. From the Association of Financial Advisors of India, I'm thankful to all my eminent speakers from the behalf of Resurgent India, who is a merchant banker, and we are also an investment banker. So any help is required from the Resurgent India in respect of any DPR or other thing, we are at your disposal. So we are also thankful to the off the screen, my friend Mr. Rohan, and other person who help us to have the success of this webinar. At the end, I close the session. I'm sorry, my internet has gone. Still, I am getting your voice. So I'm thankful to all of you. I think this is the first time my internet has gone. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gupta sir, for the amazing session. It was well moderated.
Thank you, Gupta ji.
Thank you so
Chitra
much.
madam, I have got many cases with me, all startup funding cases. I would require your
You have
help.
got many
There is a
cases,
branch in Bhubaneswar, ma'am.
Hello?
You have a branch in
Hello?
Bhubaneswar.
Bhubaneswar, we have no branch, lekin still.
No, Bhubaneswar, they have got one branch.
Aisa,
Bank of Maharashtra has got one branch.
You are talking about Bank of Maharashtra, na?
Yeah, Bank of Maharashtra.
Definitely, they are having branch.
They have branch, so I'll direct all these cases to ma'am bank.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.